Come on. We live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, and welcome to the Edge of Everyday. Are you standing at your own edge? Are you craving deeper conversations? Do you know there's more waiting for you just beyond your comfort zone? If you answered yes to any of those questions, the Edge of Everyday is the place for you. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and tough talk about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. You know, the ones between fear and courage, grief and joy, ambition and vulnerability, change and becoming. Here, we explore contradiction. Here, we hold paradox. We confront the truths we've been taught to ignore. Real talk with real people that spark provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe. The Edge is where you come alive. The Edge of Everyday. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman, and welcome back to The Edge of Everyday. What if the most dangerous stories are the ones we've accepted as normal? What truths are hiding in plain sight because we've been taught not to see them? And what if the edge of every day is the place where our illusions end and our humanity begins? Today, we are diving into a conversation that asks us to look closely at the stories we've been taught about history, race, identity, and ourselves. We are live in the hive with Kimberly Palermo, author of Indoctrination, a book that challenges us to examine the ways we have been shaped by cultural narratives and omissions of historical facts, and to consider what it means to take responsibility for creating a more truthful future. This isn't a conversation about blame. It's a conversation about awareness, about curiosity, about courage, and perhaps most importantly, about what becomes possible when we approach challenging truths with ferocious compassion. Join us as we explore the edge between what we've inherited and what we're capable of becoming. Before we dive in, I'm so excited for this conversation. I'm going to read Kim's bio. Kimberly Palermo holds an undergraduate degree in applied behavioral science from UC Davis, with a focus on multiculturalism, and a master's degree in special education, with extensive training in group behavior and learning. Kim began her teaching career as an elementary school teacher in Compton Unified School District during the Rodney King civil unrest, where she witnessed firsthand how historical erasure, systemic inequality, and trauma shape communities, and how education can either reinforce myths or interrupt them. That experience profoundly shaped her approach to teaching truth with clarity, empathy, and accountability. For over 20 years, Kim has worked with people at the earliest stages of learning, including those who have received incomplete or oversimplified versions of history, helping guide them from uncertainty toward deeper understanding and personal responsibility. She's the author of Indoctrination 365, which reflects her lifelong work at the intersection of education, behavioral science, and history, designed not to shame readers, but to give them the tools they were never taught. To better understand American culture today, this book offers the clarity you've been looking for. Welcome, Kim Palermo.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy we're talking. I've been so looking forward to this conversation, and I'm so blown away by your courage and the work that you're doing and your dedication. And I'm just going to dive right in. I'm so turned on by this is how I know Kim. And Kim, I let my listeners know how I know of my guests. And no one introduced us. I don't know how we got together on LinkedIn, but and I are connected on LinkedIn. And I'll tell you what, folks, she posts unbelievable stuff about her book, about other people's posts on this. She's got a fantastic podcast going, and she, talks all about these issues at great length on LinkedIn. So that's how I met you. And finally, I just, was so blown away by all your posts and your information. And I said, I got to have this woman on my podcast.
Yay, thank you so much.
And here we are. The day has arrived. I'm so grateful you're here.
Thank you. Me too.
What's the name of your podcast again? Unfiltered.
It's Racism Unfiltered, White Women Talk, because it's two
Oh,
white women just
so good.
talking.
And that's who needs to be talking.
Exactly.
It is, yeah, you. It's up to us. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to go down there yet. We'll get there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna. Oh, another thing I noticed. I wanted to give a shout out to Anne Marie Schrouder. Do you know her personally, or are you just connected? Because I see that you're connected to her on LinkedIn.
I'm connected.
Yeah, I've had her on the show before.
Oh, wow.
So a shout out. I think twice I've had her on the show. No, I had her on once and then I replayed her episode. So shout out to Anne Marie doing this extraordinary work. Her book is called Being Brown in a Black and White World. So that is another resource for you folks, in addition to this exquisite book, Indoctrination 365.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with my favorite first question. What identity do you, Kim Palermo, lead with?
What identity? Oh, okay. I'm not exactly sure how to take that question.
Well, this is why I love this question, because there's so many directions we can go in.
My identity started out as, and still kind of is, or okay, 100% is, let me start all over. I'm a white person who was raised in a very, very privileged area of the United States. I was in a bubble as a little kid, and I thought I was having a universal experience, and I was going along, la 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 la, having a great life. And when I turned about 6 or 7, I realized something wasn't there. Something was missing. Something was missing.
So it wasn't an actual thing. It was just this growing awareness that something was incorrect. There wasn't an event.
Well, because I was born in the era of colorblindness, where you can't talk about race or racism, or you're racist. And that's very old-fashioned, and it's very closed. And anyone who asks a question, you're shushed immediately. And you find out really fast that you are not supposed to ask questions. So I saw things going on when I would say the pledge. I'm 6 years old, I'm in kindergarten or first grade, and we're doing the pledge every day. And I'm really thinking about the words and taking it to heart. And then I'm looking around and I'm like, but we're not really doing that, are we? And it was confusing.
Yeah.
Because I'd see people who looked like they needed our help and no one was helping them. And at the time, I didn't really know what black was or white was, because it's kind of it's a human construct, obviously. And
race, say that again for the folks in the back of the room.
Race is a human construct. A lot of people think that race is real. Racism is very real, but race is actually made up.
It's completely a construct made up by who? White people.
Yep, exactly. White people made it up to basically try to make themselves superior.
Yeah.
And it kind of has worked for a couple
and it's worked centuries. Horribly successfully and look at where we are today.
Exactly. It's worked horribly successfully because we white folks have all bought into it.
Yeah.
And I say all in the aggregate. I mean, obviously there are some people who chose not to, but there's no hub where white people can go to go, oh, okay, I get it. But what there is school, and we think we get it because we think we're getting a full education, and we're not. I mean, my book starts out, what if the stories you were taught about America were incomplete by design?
Yeah. Totally. Well, so while wait, in your teaching, let's back into there. How did you, I mean, did you become an elementary school teacher to teach this curriculum, or did you slowly get into it? And I love Ruth Bader Ginsburg back on your desk.
Oh my, my little dolly. Yeah.
She's
Um,
great.
well, when I was little, I'll start back to when I was little. I noticed all this stuff. No one would teach me anything. My family wasn't particularly overtly racist by any means. They didn't talk
But
about it,
they
but
weren't sure, of course. The
but they
same
weren't
with me.
teaching. They weren't teaching me anything either.
Yeah, and they were
And
benefiting from all of the baked
absolutely,
in, yeah, entitlement.
absolutely, yeah, exactly. And they really didn't know our real racial history because it's purposely not taught that way. I mean,
Right.
for white people, if you're going to keep the status quo, you're certainly not going to teach the truth about what we've done. And we, in the aggregate, meaning our government and our people over time. And and so I was just going along and doing everything I was doing, and I kept coming back to the same problem. Like, why do we, why do we try to form a more perfect union, but we're really not? Why do we talk about that and we're proud about our country, but we're not really doing the things we're supposed to do. We're talking about them. And as
Mm,
I got older, I kind of started figuring all this stuff out. And it kept coming back to systemic racism
yeah,
every time.
yeah,
And
totally.
and when I was 17, I got to know who Jane Elliott was. And somebody did a Jane Elliott, and she's the blue eyes, brown eyes. It's a social experiment that she did
Yes, yes.
when Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, and she did it with her classroom. And nowadays, of course, she'd be like in jail for doing that. But I mean, at the time, she did this. She wanted to kind of teach people what it
Mm,
really meant, how to socialize somebody into feeling like they were less than, and how we've done that. And so she did an incredible. If you haven't seen that, that is a
yeah, tell
first
our listeners
step.
about it.
First step. You have to watch Jane Elliott and her blue eyes, brown eyes experiment, and you'll look it up anywhere. They'll have it, and
Yeah,
it's amazing.
yeah, it really
And
is
when
eye popping.
oh, it's fascinating. And when I learned about her, suddenly I was just about turning 18. It changed my whole world because I realized it wasn't me that was just feeling so strange about the environment and the culture I lived in. It was the culture.
Right.
It was what I saw was true. And
Yeah.
I was fascinated. So then I went to school for it. Multiculturalism and applied behavioral sciences was the
Hmm.
closest you get in ethnic
Right.
studies. And
Yes.
I was like, wow. So it was just really fascinating for me. And then I went from there, and I just kept exploring, kept exploring, and working in Compton during the um, Los Angeles on civil unrest was, I was 23 years old. It was crazy. The whole
Yeah.
place burned down.
Yeah.
Thousands of people were arrested. Hundreds and hundreds were killed. I
Yeah.
mean, it was, and
An
no,
extraordinary time.
and the white folks around me were like, why are they burning down their own place? What are they so mad about? We didn't get it. We just
Well,
did. We were like,
yeah,
yeah.
some of us got it.
Mhm. Right. But,
Um,
in general, most of us did. There's always a few, like there's always been a few that were like,
yeah,
get
we
it.
get it.
Not enough. Not enough to change culture. Not enough to say
Well, and not enough to let go of the
power.
power and entitlement. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, just look at where we are today. The
The,
clinging
the
to the
denial.
hierarchy, the denial. It's just and I've said this a million times, and I'm going to get to systemic racism after this, but I have always thought, naively, that it, certain women, because they're certainly women, because their rights were being taken away, but
Mhm.
the whole understanding that there's a whole swath of people who we all see are voting against their human rights.
That's
And
awful.
why would they do that? Why would they continue to do that? over and over and over again. And, I just kept thinking, people are going to wake up. I was in a bubble until Obama's second um, uh, um, term.
Right.
And, to really get that, oh, we have not evolved.
Yeah.
But this whole notion that I don't care if I'm voting against my quote unquote rights. What I really care about is holding on to this hierarchy, this
Exactly.
white privileged
And that's
hierarchy.
what we
And
do. And
that,
that's what we've done in the past is we cling on to at least they get me. They get that I love this racism. I have to have it as an identity, as a part of me.
yeah,
And to
I'm
one
better
degree
than
or another,
somebody. I'm better than
exactly.
somebody.
And it's kind of interesting because one of the quotes that I always speak of, it's a very antiquated quote. It's rude. It's obnoxiously racist, and it was in its time too. It was Lyndon B. Johnson. I don't know if you've heard of this one. He said, and it's obnoxious, so please excuse me. I'm not
No,
trying to
go
offend
for it.
anyone.
We're no, nothing
It,
is taboo here. We're getting into the obnoxiousness. Go
yeah,
for it.
he said, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't
Right.
notice you're picking his pocket.
Pocket.
Hell,
Yeah.
give him someone you'll look down upon, and they'll empty their pockets for you.
Yeah.
And that is what we've done. We feel, we might have nothing, but at least we're not black. And that's what we've been living on. And that's why I say, and you might not, this might sound really nasty, but we have a white person problem in America.
Yeah, we totally
And,
do have a white person
yeah,
problem.
and I
We
don't
are
mean that
so
really
behind the curve. It's just
exactly.
embarrassing. We're just so immature.
I
It's
love that you get it.
yeah. Ugh. So let's go on. Let's move on to systemic racism that's embedded in every institution in the United States. Talk about. Um, well, first, I want to read this quote because I love it so much, and this makes me think about storytelling. And truth, which we started with. My husband always, I digress here for 1 second. My husband has often said to me, we in the United States do not agree. We do not tell the same story about who we are and who the United States is. We have conflicting stories about what our collective story is. And until we can agree on what that story is, we're going to be in conflict. We're just going to keep perpetuating this. And it's absolutely true. And this is a quote from your first chapter. The America you were taught to love, the version of America we were taught to love is never the full story. And love that's based on lies isn't love at all. It's control. Real love isn't blind. It's brave. Oh, I love that. I
Me too.
totally well, and this makes me think about your whole website is just set up so well as a teacher. She's got quotes from each of the chapters and then she goes into myths and kind of breaks things down. It's just great.
Thank
Uh,
you.
you are welcome, my friend.
Adding
So
to it
let's,
every day. I'm adding things to it every day. I have quizzes on there and vocabulary and you
that's
name
so
it.
awesome.
It's a lot of fun
Uh,
to do.
yeah, the non-techie girl adds something every day.
Well, because my
Right,
tech guy lives
exactly.
next door.
Yes, folks, pre hopping on the mic, we had some tech issues. But they were handled. She and I were having a good laugh about our technical. Can we just have one day that doesn't have a technical learning curve, please? Please, powers that be. Anyway,
I think not.
systemic racism. Just the ones off the top of our head that people can, people who are resistant to understanding how systemic and how embedded racism is and baked into everything. Certainly ones that everyone can agree on, even if they don't want to agree on it. They know this is true. Textbooks are glossing over slavery. They're glossing over the genocide of indigenous peoples. Their holidays are all Euro and white centric, and the cultural narratives of racial hierarchy are out in the open and upheld. It right within our systems. So talk to us about some more systemic racism that is embedded into our institutions.
Well, I can talk to you about how one way that we can become, uh, we buy into it. And I talk about this in my book a little bit. I think it's the second or third chapter. You know, I talk about like maybe you and I, when we were born, who helped deliver us? Well, probably a man, probably a white man, right? And although we were a little itty bitty baby, this is how it works. A white man delivered us, right? And probably a white nurse took us and put us on our mom, and all this. Later on, our mom might have been hungry or needed the room cleaned, and somebody brown probably came in and cleaned it. And then maybe later somebody served food and they were probably brown too. And these type of things over and over again help us to create patterns of how things are. And we don't even know what's happening. And it's not an abnormal thing to try to arrange your world. We get so much input and arrange it. But after a while, we become biased.
Yeah.
And those biases can turn into ideas that we act out in behavior
Right.
and called discrimination.
Right.
And it's not like, for example, you might be driving down the freeway and you see some graffiti and you see an area and it looks like all the infrastructure is broken down. And you don't think, oh, that must be a redlined area where
So
people.
for our listeners that don't know redlining, I mean, this is the
Right,
tougher things. This is
right,
the tougher
yeah,
systemic embedded
the things we
bullshit that I
don't.
want to get onto.
Right, and I'll explain. Redlining was a policy set for years and years by our government and pushed forward by pretty much everybody, where people who are brown and black or indigenous were not allowed to buy houses in high market areas. They just
Hmm.
weren't. It was not shown to them. It was not allowed. They were uh, legal paperwork that said they cannot live here. And so
Hmm.
that's how things got so segregated and divided, so that they didn't have access
Exactly.
to get the opportunity to have generational wealth like
Yes.
white people. And it was absolutely perfect. So you're driving by and you're a little kid looking out the window, for example, like I was in Los Angeles, and I saw a broken down area, and I was like, wow, look at that, look over there. And I see maybe brown or black people, or maybe I don't. And my mom says, well, that's a bad area. Well, how many
And of
times
course, we know what a bad area is.
a bad area? She means a black area.
Hmm.
Okay. And she's not going to say it because we're in an era of colorblindness, but you catch on quite quickly. For example, when I was little, I'm watching the news. I snuck down when I was a little girl. I used to sneak down when I was like 3, and I didn't know what I was watching. My parents, I wasn't supposed to be awake. My parents are watching the nighttime news, 11 o'clock news, and I'd see groups of men in handcuffs who were brown or black, and they had these like lines over their eyes because that was like to hide their identity, I guess. Because you're supposed to be, innocent before proven guilt. But they're on TV and they're doing the perp walk, which
Right.
was
Exactly.
my era.
Yes. A lovely
What
Jim Crow laws. Yes.
I didn't know what it was, but it looked scary as hell. And
Well,
what's that teaching a
of
little
course. Yeah,
girl?
right. And we grew up being scared as hell. But in today's world,
Hmm.
Jim Crow laws, they went from slavery to, the war on drugs. Think about that.
Hmm.
All of a sudden,
Hmm.
it's only black people that are going to jail for a one little cigarette, one pot
Right, right. One
spliff, as
little,
my husband calls them.
right, one
Yeah, I
little,
mean,
exactly.
there's an old word. It's like ridiculous, like massive. So it's enslavement in another way.
Right,
You know,
like for
some,
another example, if you don't mind me jumping in, is
yeah,
the when you think about the police that are in schools now, and they're supposed to be, like I know there's a word for it, I'm blank on it, but it's they're there to help,
patrol.
keep the school safe and
Mm,
everything, and so that no school shooters and things like that. Well,
sure, sure.
all the studies have turned out that what they really end up doing is arresting black and brown children, and
Yeah,
more often than anything else, and putting them into the system, which just feeds the mass incarceration. And
yeah,
all the studies have shown that, you know, it's not that they're really there to like save everyone. What they're really there is to monitor black
Yes.
bodies. And
Yeah.
that's what they do. And whether
Make
it's
money off
purposeful or
Black
not,
bodies.
it doesn't matter. It's what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's another part of the systemic racism. We have to look at these things and do a deep dive. We can't just look at the surface level, or we're like, oh, we don't see anything, because we don't. We're white and we don't have to.
Well, yeah. Well, and we can pretend that that's not really happening. Um,
And
People
some of us
see
do.
it. People see it, and some of it people see it and turn a blind eye. But it's something that struck me that I did not know the history. I learned this in your book. The history of policemen is
Yeah.
based on began with in the early 1700s the slave patrols.
Yeah.
That was shocking to me. And talk about like baked into the generation after generation of people that have become police. I listen, I'm not saying all
The
policemen
origins
are
of police.
bad, but yeah, but the police brutality. In fact, this is really when I just got turned into an activist, is, when I saw all of the brutal, it was finally on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I saw all of the police brutality to Black
And it was,
people.
you know what? And Sandra, it was what all the Black folks have been saying for centuries.
Forever,
Even when we
forever.
got it on camera with Rodney King, we got
And
it on
well, with
camera,
George Floyd, come
and
on.
they still got away. And well, back in the day with Rodney King, they got away with it.
Of course
They
they
had it
did.
on camera, and that's why people were losing their. It's like you can only take so much of being marginalized and oppressed until you
So,
snap.
yeah.
And so yeah,
So I love
George
the
Floyd.
title of your book. It's very provocative. I like it. Why indoctrination? One,
um,
and how can people recognize the difference between education and indoctrination?
well, that's a good question. Indoctrination 365. I just came up with that one day when I was taking a hike, because I kept saying to myself, I know, I believe in white people. I believe in my fellow humans. I know if they knew what I know, they'd be shocked. I mean, if they knew half of what I've learned, they'd be like, "You got to be kidding me." I don't have to call someone a racist or say you're racist. I don't have to point fingers. If you just know our history, it's not that we are racist. We live in a racist culture. We inherited a
Right,
racist culture, and we don't
right.
even realize it. And so we're being indoctrinated, and we're thinking, oh, South Korea, wow, they're, Kim Jong-un, really bad, all that, indoctrination. 'Cause I used to work for a company that helped people escape from from North Korea,
Wow.
North Korea. And I started thinking, we think, and I love that people love our country, but we're doing the same damn thing here. We're
Yeah,
really
totally.
indoctrinating people by not teaching us the truth. And this is a culture we inherited. We didn't do it,
Well,
but until we start, until we get to the point where we're an adult and old enough to realize we are benefiting from it, and we are harming people terribly by doing nothing.
yeah.
By doing nothing. There's no neutral. So that's the rough part.
I forget oh, I should have written this down. I thought of it the other day while I was researching you. Oh, what was the name of that show? It's a wonderful book, and it was two women that hosted. I'll think of it and I'll put it in the show notes, people. Two women who wrote a marvelous book to Black women, and they hosted dinner parties.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I'm friends. I'm online with them.
I love
Yes.
it. Of course you are.
It's
And I
absolutely.
remember watching, and who knows to what extent it was a bit staged or not, but to
Oh, I don't think.
see the white women writhe, and get upset with the hard truths. And, and the learning that they couldn't hear, they couldn't get out of their own way about, feeling badly, or they didn't want to hear the harsh truths. They couldn't wrap their brains around it. And
Right.
that was extraordinary. I mean, the only we're only going to get out of this if you're willing to hear the hard truths. And this is the problem with this administration now, this whole ridiculous clean out of DEI, that we can't teach these things, that this didn't happen, and we're not racist, despite
It's
the fact
crazy.
that
It's crazy.
on the last Sunday, some idiot wrestler on the White House lawn in a big cage screamed, Michelle Obama is a man.
I mean,
Which I learned the history of that trope. I
mhm.
didn't realize the extraordinary history of that.
Oh, that's an incredible thing that he did, and I I am very, very glad. The other day I saw, and she takes the high road. She and her husband, my God, they are
Oh,
incredible people.
extraordinary humans.
And she finally said, I'm gonna do a lawsuit. This is just
Good.
enough. And I'm so glad, because this cannot continue. This type of bringing, here's the thing. If you've ever heard of Oda Benga, which most people haven't, this is not in my lifetime, but pretty damn close. This is a man who was taken from a country in Africa and placed into the zoo in New York City. And he was placed as an exhibit. Okay. And you can read all about it in my book. And he ended up taking his own life. Um,
You did.
he we are not so far off from a time when this was overt, and people would say, you're a man, you're this, you're that. I mean, it's
It's
bad.
still overt.
Yeah, it's still overt, and some of this administration and its followers are allowing it to become, they want to take us back.
Yeah,
They want to
exactly.
take us back.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think this is where the bubble bursting. Like I said, in the second term of Obama, I thought we had evolved, and there are places in the country where I mean, this has been there forever. It's not like we're going back. It
Oh,
has
this is
been
how it is.
there forever.
Sundown towns. There's
I,
still
I know
sundown
there's
towns.
one here in the Catskill Mountains.
Yep, sundown.
Sundown towns,
That's
folks.
what
That's an interesting, yeah.
yeah.
So, what's the difference between education and indoctrination?
I think for me, that's a really great question off the cuff. I've never been asked that before. Um, Education is different than indoctrination. Education wants you to explore. Education wants you to discover, to ask questions. It wants you to find the truth, peel the onion, take off the layers, and get down to what is true in your heart and what you see. Education has science and history. Education is best practices. Indoctrination is the opposite. It's more like fascism and dictatorship, and do what I say because I said it. And I'm the leader, you're the follower. Don't ask questions. It's like a little boy who goes to the ocean, and the dad says to the boy, there's fish in the ocean. They're all over the place. And he goes and he looks and he doesn't see any. And so he says, no, there's not. And the dad says, yes, there is. And the boy says, no, there's not. And the problem is the father has to, the boy is not taking a deep dive for anything. He's just looking at the surface. And then he says, okay, sure, fine, I'll go in, whatever. You say there's fish. And then he still can't see any. Well, because the fish have all swum away because he jumped in. And so he still believes. And I'm giving this example of, if you don't do a deep dive into something, you will believe something and it'll seem kind of logical. All right. And finally, the father says, take this little snorkeling gear. I'm going to show you. Let's go out a little ways and put this mask on. Well, if he doesn't put the mask on and look and see, like, oh yeah, I do. Oh wow, I do see something. Okay. He will believe that the dad's nuts or whatever, and he'll believe what he wants to believe, and there'll be no way to do a deeper dive. And I mean, it literally a deeper dive, and that's what we need to do. And that's the difference between education and indoctrination. Education wants a deep dive. It wants the
Yes,
question.
it wants facts. It
Yes, it wants
wants
facts,
realness.
exploration, and all that. So
Yeah, I love it. All right. I like that. So, What are some of the most powerful myths Americans have inherited about race and identity?
I think the number one, and there is, Sandra, it's the strangest thing. When I teach my folks that, I've taught for years and years, folks who are more reluctant and resistant or just curious or just new, or maybe they
I love
never
this.
really
Before you get to the question, how is it working with people who are reluctant? How is that? How do you find them?
it's
How do they come to you?
more of
That's
an
really
art than a
cool.
science. It's more of an art than a science. You have to challenge people enough for them to be curious, but not so much that they run away and think you're crazy. Because it's like saying that I ran into an alien from another planet when the person doesn't even know there are other planets. Well, they're going to be like, you're crazy because that's nuts. And they'll run because they'll think, but if you say something a little, there's an order of operations, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You
Mm.
cannot throw this at people who have been taught their entire
Who
lives
have
by their
been
parents,
indoctrinated.
grandparents, thank you, school, everybody. They've been lied to. They've been given misinformation. You can't just come out and say, this kind of thing and have them go, oh, okay, cool. This is something that takes some digesting. And so you start slow. And what I start with is race is a human construct. And I teach
Yeah.
what a human construct is. And because I thought race was real, I didn't know when I was little. I, Everyone told me these are the different races and I fell right into it because I didn't know. I live in a culture that is based on systemic racism
Hierarchy. Yeah.
and there's a hierarchy, right? And so anyway, I keep asking me. I'm going off on a tangent because I
No,
love
no,
talking.
no, no. Just back to the question. I just am fascinated that people who are really reluctant and resistant, you're teaching them. I love that. Those are
Yeah,
the people that need to be taught, but
right.
good for them to go, this is
Absolutely.
really uncomfortable and I'm being challenged and this is growth and this is the edge of every day. I
They have to
can't,
trust you that you're not going
and,
to pounce on them.
but they've made the step forward. That's the point I'm making.
They
Is
listen. That's how they start. They listen. I have people in my communities that I have on my online communities. I first started out a long time ago on Facebook by accident. I started an online community. I didn't even know what a group was. I mean, it was silly. It was because we were adopting our third child, my husband and
oh,
I, and we kept we kept losing the child, not to death, but to the adoption was falling through. And so we weren't getting any
mm,
younger. So we finally switched to Ethiopia. And that meant that I would be raising a child of color. And this was 3 years ago. It was 23 years ago.
wow,
So even though with all my background and understanding multiculturalism, in my school, there's nothing that can, I'm a white person.
yeah,
I'm going to raise a child of color in this society. So I better get my ass in gear. And so I wanted to find out how it felt if I could vicariously somehow learn to be a person adopted into a white family who was not white. And I looked
yeah.
for it online, everywhere.
Mm,
I couldn't find a thing. And then I finally found something. And I'll be really honest, it's not pretty, but the first contact I had was, how dare you adopt somebody? Remember, this is
yeah.
23 years ago. How dare
Oh,
you?
I'm sure
What are
this
you,
is not, yeah,
what are you,
don't
some
apologize.
savior?
This is the real
Right.
thing. And
What are you,
people
some
still feel this
savior?
way.
That's what I got. Yeah. What are you, some
Yeah,
savior? You think you're going to save somebody? And I was like, no, I just, we can't
wanted a
have
kid.
any more kids. And I wanted to adopt my whole life. And so, yeah, so I was like freaked by these people. They said I was selfish. They said I was like,
Yeah,
wow, not what I expected. And
yeah.
after I like kind
But
of,
understandable.
at the time, I didn't get it because, it was my naivete. It really was. And so what I did,
Wait, I think it was our what? White privilege.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it was our way. I did not expect that.
of course.
I thought people would be like, oh, cool, like anything else. And,
Yeah,
everyone has a different take on how people do that. But oh, I was pounced on. And
I bet.
it wasn't by black people. It was by white people too.
Yeah,
And I was just like, whoa, I didn't think this was a controversial issue, which was my white privilege, as you
right.
said. And so I thought, well, to, screw those people. I don't know them, and I need to figure this out, because if we're really going to do this, because there were so many kids who didn't have parents,
Right.
and I was like, and everybody wants a white baby in America, and I was like, I don't need a white baby. I want a baby that needs a home. I want a baby that needs a mommy and a daddy. And that's all I was thinking. And I ended up starting a group that took off. And I didn't even know, it was so
Mm.
funny. It just took off. And I ended up having 7 admins around the clock, because it was, a bunch of
Wow.
different
Did
countries.
it
And
have both black and white people in it?
oh my gosh, Sandra, it had Black people, white people, indigenous people, Palestinian people, Israeli people. It had Quakers, it had Christians, it had agnostic people, it had people who were unhoused, it had people who were wealthy, it had doctors, it had people who were in the LGBTQ community. It had, I mean, it was everybody
People
there
wanted to
taught.
learn.
Everybody who wanted to learn went there, and everyone who wanted to teach went there, because with that many different people who you'd never meet in your entire lifetime if you just stayed in your own place. And we all became friends. It was amazing. It
Yeah.
was incredible. And I had a lot of rules, because it's fine to want to learn, but if there's a humble place for people who want to learn, it's a
Yeah.
humble, you have to kind of humble yourself, and you
Yeah.
have to
It's, and
realize,
there's some hard truths.
yeah, and that it's
And
not
you've
going to
got to
be easy.
choose not to be offended. You've got to
Exactly.
choose I'm going to receive this information with the intention that it was given,
Yes.
learning and truth telling, and I'm going to receive it. And
Yes, and you
if
gotta say
I'm,
it's not about us. It's about a system we were born into that we're learning about, and I'm ready to learn. And
yeah,
and that's a hard place for some people to be.
say
And
that again. It's not about, it's a system.
it's
Say that
not
again.
about us personally. It's about a system we were all born into or inherited. And we need to be able to humble ourselves by saying, you know what? It's not about me. I need to
Yeah.
learn about this, and be ready, and be okay with it. And you do need to kind of take a slice of humble pie, or maybe like the whole pie. It depends where you're at, just the whole damn thing. And it's not an easy place to be. But in the book, I actually outline, if you're feeling super defensive right now, this next chapter is for you. And then
I
I
love that
explain,
so much.
because I know people want to just shut it and go, because I was there. I was there even after going to school for this, even after working in pumpkin, even after doing all this. And I thought, I need to get my ass in gear if I'm going to raise a child. And it's just a weird balance, because you can't put all your hangups on your kid. Even, you have to let her have her own journey.
Yeah.
And so it's
So,
tough.
so how is this kid? What's
This
her name?
this kid is Skylar, and she's doing great. She's
And
graduating.
what has she told you? What have you learned from her that you can share with the listeners about what it's been like to be raised in a white family in you know, in a white area? Although where you are is pretty hip, but still, I mean,
I live
it's
in a
got its
former sundown
conservative
town.
vibe.
I live in a former sundown town. I'll just say that. Don't
Oh,
even
is
get
it
me started.
really? I didn't know that
It
about.
sure is. It sure is.
Oh,
And surprise, sorpresa. Yeah. My little daughter doesn't talk a ton about this, but because this is all she's ever known.
hmm,
But what she does do is she kind of chills me out a little bit. The first time I ever noticed something that upset me with her. And we've had things, what people are doing to her. People, when she was little, she was just like, wow, because I live in a really white area.
yeah,
Everyone thought, oh, she's so cute, because she was freaking adorable. But I'm just saying. And they never really acted like this with my other 2 kids, but whatever. But it was fine, whatever. They was just, she was new, she was novel, she was an only. Like, we go to Taekwondo, and there's 500 people who are members there, and everyone was like, oh, she got lots of attention. And at first it was kind of freaky for me. And then one day somebody asked me what it was like to diaper a black baby.
uh,
And I was
oh
like,
my God,
well, and I was taken back by it.
of
And
course.
I said, well, it's kind of the
Hmm,
same
kind
as
of like a
diapering a
white
white
baby.
baby, but their skin's more tan. Like, I didn't know what to say. I go, what do you say? It was just strange. And people wanted to touch her hair, and people wanted, and then as she got older and older, I started noticing more and more. At first, she was just a novelty. So it was this kind of strange. She was novel, but she loved it because she got so much attention. So I was like, Okay, okay. This is their first experience ever being near a black person, and it's my baby. So,
Yeah.
I get it. And then once we got kicked out of a pool, and it was strange. And it
How
was,
did she
yes,
take that?
she didn't she didn't get it. She didn't get it. So
Interesting. Does she
we
get it now?
she gets it now. But the biggest thing I had to work on was not putting my hangups on her. One day
Mhm.
I witnessed her at a gymnastics class, and it was afterwards. And two of the little blonde, adorable little blonde girls were, talking to each other in the corner. And she went over and then she left. And I was like, I thought, oh my gosh, they're rejecting her. And of course, I jumped to my mommy, and
You're a
I said,
ferocious mommy. Yeah.
yeah, I said, Sky, did they just tell you that they didn't want to play with you? She goes, oh, they're just in a bad mood, Mom. It's fine. And I was like, yeah, Mom. Yeah, Mom, they're just in a bad mood. And I thought, okay, because see, that's what racism does to you. It will never, not nowadays, mostly, although it's getting to, it will never just come out and say, hi, I'm racist, you're black, I'm not playing with you, or you didn't get the invitation because you're black, or you didn't get the promotion
No,
because
understood, but how did she receive it? I mean, that to me is just amazing
he
that she
received it
received
as absolutely, oh, they're just in a bad mood. They get that way.
and
And I was like, okay, okay. So I had to make sure that I don't and at the same meet that I was at, the same meet that I was at, somebody asked me what whose child I was watching, and what child I was watching. And I said, the one right there in the velvety red. And there was kids flying all over the place. And she goes, where? I said, the little black girl, right there, right there. She was the only black kid in the place. And the lady said, oh, don't say that. And I go, don't say, don't say black. And she goes, don't say it. And I said, um, she knows she's black. Like we don't look that as a bad thing. She goes, just don't say that out loud. And I was like,
mm,
wow. I was like,
the
I was
mind
learning.
numbing.
I was
Yeah.
learning as I was going.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
So, what's your response to people who say still in today's world, which is mind blowing? I don't see color.
Well, it's a very convenient thing to say,
Of
and
course it
it
is.
it's when people say they don't see color. I say, and this might not be what you expect. I say, is this what you're trying to say? Is that you know that there are differences in people's colors, but because of the extreme culture of systemic racism we live in, you try to really hard to push back on it when it comes into your thoughts and whatnot. Is that really what you're trying to say? Is that you try to push back on any racist or discriminatory feelings you have or
Mhm.
prejudices? Is that it? And they're just like, no, I just don't see color. And I'll say, well, because that's a very, very, and I try to explain to them that not seeing color is not seeing the person.
Yeah.
And if you don't see, I understand you might think this is a well-meaning thing, but if you don't see color, then you don't see the discrimination, and then you don't see the injustice, and you don't see the inequality either. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So they think
Yeah.
they're being nice, and I get that, but it's not a
Yeah.
compliment. It's not a
No.
compliment. That's what I say. I ask them if what they're really saying is this, and sometimes that is what they're really saying, but they're not
Yeah.
saying it right. So
Yeah.
I
They
try to
haven't
give them like
been
an out.
an out. Yes. You're
Yeah,
you're very delightful that way. And
of
and
course.
and you're yeah, and you're changing minds because of that tenderness. And understanding that, I mean, it's such a fine line to want to just have a bit of compassion for people, people who just really, they've just lived in a bubble and really don't know how to be an ally, really don't know, they just have not been challenged in ways to wake up,
Well,
which in today's world flabbergasts me, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that yes, they do intend to, and there are gentle ways of saying things. I just follow very um, outspoken people that talk about these topics,
well,
and that aren't probably that gentle in the in the way of calling people forward to rethink their thoughts. And I appreciate that greatly in your
Thank you.
response.
I think that's how it has to be for the most part, unless you know someone is just purposely being jackass, in which case, do what you got to do. But most people, for the most part, they don't. They truly, people will say, "Oh yeah, right." Now, it's a fine line between saying they just don't get it or they don't see it. They are not conscious enough and educated enough to get it. For example, Jane Elliott
Mhm.
will say she'll look at her audience and of white people in a giant stage, and she'll say, "Raise your hand if you'd like to be treated the way we treat Black people in America today."
Oh, I've seen that
And
clip.
she'll say,
It's
"Wait, are you
brilliant.
not listening? Did you not hear what I said?" And she'll repeat it. Nobody will raise their hand, and nobody because we
Everyone
do
knows.
we do know on a certain level, but after that, we sure don't know much else. Like
But
where to go,
see,
what to do, what to it's a
I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, that's being kind. I
it
think
is
people
it's
really do know. They know exactly. It's not like
I just don't
I'm.
know.
I think people
Yeah.
know exactly that Black people are mistreated and condescended to and looked down on and discriminated against. All the things they
I
know
think
it. It's not like I'm confused. Yeah,
I think it depends. And I've worked with so many white people who have come into my world who have so many different beliefs, and your idea is much more towards what most Black folks that I've talked to believe, that they do know. I don't know what people know or what's in their subconscious or what's surface level.
yeah,
But all I know is for myself, my own experience. I knew
right.
something was going on, but I didn't know what it was because I wasn't allowed to talk about it, look around. No one around me was Black, no one around me was brown, and no one would tell me anything. And so there were no ways to figure it out. So I just got caught up in the stereotypes of what everyone, TV and the culture.
Yeah,
And
but that was then. I mean,
right,
in today's world, I mean,
this world's a
listen,
little different. Yes.
I would like to believe we are farther along, but
Well,
to
there's
your
willful
point,
ignorance. I'm talking about in the past. Now, if you really don't get it, it's quite willful because this is,
exactly. It's
after
very
George
willful.
Floyd and you don't want to get it. And I get that. A lot of people don't want to get it. And that's a whole nother story. But I think, it depends how closed your space is that you're learning in. It depends on a lot of things. But yeah, nowadays, if you don't get it, then it's you probably don't want to.
Yeah.
And I
I
would agree,
mean,
I would agree with that. I was
yeah,
thinking more like in the day about how things were handled.
right. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah, today
nowadays and
it's
how you're
different.
working with people and how they're coming to you, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah, people come to me from every level of everything and every area of life, and you'd be surprised at it's not just people who are considered uneducated with no formal education. It's not people, the folks that are formally educated oftentimes are just like the rest of us white folks, or many of us.
Yeah,
They just don't get it. And so I want to be here as a place where people can go if they want to get it, and they will not be put down. They will not be shamed. They will be told the honest truth. I will not baby them, but I will absolutely help them work through, because it's a lot to start looking at your culture and everyone who's talked to you and everyone who's basically not, they've withheld from you the
yeah.
truth about this country, and we need to know the truth because we can't move forward.
It will not happen.
We
It
can't.
will not happen.
We have to lie. They have just got to stop.
Yeah, the white supremacy, I mean, it's on parade. Um, you know, just is remarkable.
It's
Okay.
incredible.
Um, my last question for you. If every listener committed to changing just one thing tomorrow, what would you ask them to do?
I would say listen to Black people when they talk and believe them. And that's what I'd say. Listen to them, hear them, feel vicariously what they're going through. Listen to them and believe them.
Mhm.
That's what I'd say. If that would be world life changing.
Life
If they
changing.
will tell you, it is a gift that we get the gift of their emotional energy to hear what it's like being them in a culture based on systemic racism and white supremacy, and listen to them. Just listen.
Yeah.
And it'll change your life.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, folks, thank you so much, Kimberly, for being on the edge of every day and speaking about this very, very tough topic and sharing your warmth and your wisdom. And please tell us where we can find you.
I can be found at indoctrination365.com and on LinkedIn under Kim P. But if you go to indoctrination365.com, you will find everywhere to find me. And I have a YouTube channel and I have a podcast and I'm everywhere. But thank you enough for having me.
Oh,
thank you
a
enough.
complete pleasure and an honor.
Thank you.
So again, I thank you, Kimberly, and listeners. Remember, all of these resources and the people that we've mentioned will be in the show notes. So, and all of the links for Kim. But before we sign off, remember, the edge is where you come alive. Until we speak again, take good care.
Hey everyone, thanks again for spending time with us here on the Edge of Everyday. I'm so grateful for your support. Please hit subscribe and follow us. You can find me, Sandra Bargman, across social media. Links are always in the show notes. And please leave us a review at Apple Podcasts. Much gratitude to my inspiring guests. Thank you for sharing your challenges, your reflections, your wit and wisdom. And lastly, many thanks to Magic Thread Media and the executive coaching team at Create Magic at Work. Remember, the edge is where you come alive. The edge of everyday.
Pressure, pushing down on me, pressing down on you, no man has fall. Under pressure.
Thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to a Magic Thread Media podcast.